We will get started.
Ready to go.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Bienvenidos all. I'm your host, Sandy Yannone, here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry, where we join you every Sunday in the delicious way that community happens when poets gather to share their work. We've been doing this work together since March of 2020, almost every Sunday. We take a few Sundays off in December and an occasional Sunday during the year, but yeah, if we're not with you, at least 45 weeks of the year, I'd be surprised. And what a time it is every Sunday that we gather. And I'm so grateful for those of our poets who've joined us here live in Zoom to read today for our Poets Focus. And this is our second annual on this topic, our Poets Focus on the theme of interdependence. Folks reading today will be reading one poem up to 3 minutes on that wonderful theme and their own individual work or the work of someone else. And this is our 1 hour where we have the reading and then we're off into the world to do whatever we're doing for the rest of the day. And as I was telling folks earlier, I am joining you today from Old Saybrook, Connecticut on the East Coast of the US. And I'm normally joining you from the West Coast of the US in Olympia. So I'm gonna probably head out to the beach, hence my little rough cap here. And in the spirit of interdependence, I've got my B shirt on today. So let's be listening to today's fabulous poets. We've already got just a great list of folks who'll be sharing a poem on that theme of interdependence. I'm so grateful to all of you, again, joining us from wherever you're joining us from. And if you wouldn't mind, when you read today, if you wouldn't mind sharing where you're joining us from, because I don't assume that everyone knows, and I'm not doing formal introductions, so it'll be nice to see where folks are joining in from. Well, as I mentioned, Cultivating Voices Live Poetry has been joining you all for now about 2.5 years, almost every Sunday, and on a variety of themes and topics. And I certainly would like to give a huge shout out to the poets that read last week in our Poetry Pride Parade, which was our 3rd annual. Yes, thank you. Yes, indeed. Yes. A couple folks here in the room were here for that, of course, and also even read. So I want to give a particular my heart to those of you who read last week in the Poetry Pride Parade. Well, shall we get started? Let's go to our open mic list. And as I said, we're going to hear from a poem apiece from everyone here, and I'm going to keep my comments to a minimum, even though I get very involved in poetry. Well, first we're going to hear from David Brydges, and then we'll hear from Scott Norman Rosenthal. Thanks for starting us off today, David. So great to see you.
Thank you, Sandy. And David's coming from Cobalt, Ontario, Canada. And also thanks, Sandy, for the theme of interdependence. I was looking at a poem and didn't realize it had so many interconnections, and I tweaked it a little bit. And This is it. It will be. Long before the word interdependence was created, the cosmos breathed its boundless fires. Long before symbols became language, voices spoke in stones, stars, and beyond. Long before parents conceived you, a seed was born in the womb of eternity. Long before babies knew they would be children. Long before you saw all birds as eagles. Long before your original face was created. Long before solitude was a refuge for social insanity. Long before dreams were surrealism's golden pillow. Long before the fire was found. Long before the sun became a star. Long before anyone could see the celestial sky had one eye. Long before physicists named the Big Bang, cosmologists the Big Burp, and I say the Big Enigma. Long before a virus killed millions. Long before time had no hands. Long before books, the future of civilization was born. Long before social media became the drunken gossip wine of modern minds. Long before cell phones made one ear extinct. Long before the metaverse, real estate stampede morphed into a techno religion. Long before cracks appeared, darkness plotted its next move. Long before chess was invented, pawns with feet were prolific. Long before language found its tongue. Long before money was wealth, everything was free. Long before the Bible became an intellectual wasteland. Long before gods were deified, evolution didn't rest on the seventh day. Long before the anointed one walked on water, nowadays, ocean's plastic is so thick, you still can. Long before paradise's karmic rent goes unpaid, the eviction notice is near.
What a fabulous poem to start us off. And as you said, absolutely on point from the first line. You got it. Thank you so much, David Brydges, for starting us off today on our Poets Focus on Interdependence. This is Cultivating Voices. You're listening to our live open mic. Welcome also to those of you listening over on Facebook through our Facebook group portal, I'll call it, our portal. Well, next we will hear from Scott Norman Rosenthal, followed by Julian Matthews. Thank you for being here, Scott.
Thank you. This is for the folk of the Walk Away campaign. All of you, gay, Black, trans, you speak out. I'd wager that more than one poisoned child hears you. There are so many. As you walk away and toward. That managed to touch on the last week's Pride theme. And yeah, the Walk Away campaign is bigger than people realize. It's not getting publicized.
Thank you so much, Scott. Always amazing. Again, as I said, that you can just recite right out of the mind, right out of there. Thank you for being here, and glad we could get you in this week, and appreciate that nod back to our reading for Pride, our Poetry Pride Parade, our third annual Poetry Pride Parade of last week. Thank you so much.
Closets
Well-
aren't healthy for any humans.
And be well, my friend, be well. Well, our next reader, I got to have a little fandom earlier with Julian Matthews and earlier, so I'm really excited to get to hear Julian today, and we'll hear from Julian, and then we'll hear from Max Vandersteen. And again, folks, if you feel comfortable, please do share with us where you're joining us from, so people get a sense of who's in the room and where we're all traveling from and to. Thank you, and welcome, Julian.
Hi, thank you. Humble to be here. I'm from Malaysia. I don't know whether I misinterpreted the theme, but let's see where this goes. A question of interdependence. I asked the rock, "Who are you?" And the rock replied, "I am magma from the earth's womb, birthed in a fit of volcanic rage and cooled over time." I asked a grain of sand, "Where are you from?" And the grain of sand replied, "I am descended from your highest rocky mountains, lifted by earth's upper crust." I asked a drop of water, "How did you come to be?" And the drop of water replied, "I was once a snow queen on an orbiting icy comet, drawn by Earth's sensuous gravity." I asked a gulp of air, "When did it first exist?" And the gulp of air replied, "My ancient ancestor cyanobacteria of royal blue and emerald green populated the ocean 3 billion years ago, absorbed golden sunlight and tirelessly, one day at a time, for a billion years released living breaths just for you." I asked the root of a tree, "What is your purpose?" And the root of the tree replied, "I draw the princely gifts of water and nutrients to feed the stem, which feeds the branches, which feeds the leaves and fruits, and in turn, all life on earth." I asked a friend recently how she was, and she replied that she just quit her job. And at the age of 30 and single, she feels shelved, lost, and without purpose. I listen and empathize. But I did not tell her I lost my way many a time too. In fact, in a way, I still am, uncertain of my own purpose in life. I did not tell her of the memory of the minute our son's birth, bursting forth unto this earth, taking his first gulp of air in a fit of rage, feeling the weight of the world on our shoulders. I did not tell her of the mountains ahead, the tireless trek of many steps, one ahead of another, the detours and changes around the bend, and how often I confused the summit for the journey. I did not tell her of ignoring my roots, being constantly on the move, not wanting to believe how standing still as a tree in the wind could possibly enrich me or bring any dream of fruition. I did not tell her how I skipped from rock to rock, thinking I could walk on water. I did not tell her how I felt entitled, not knowing then that the sands of time would eventually catch up with the man. I did not tell her I learned you cannot hold infinity, eternity, or any other abstraction in the palm of your hand, only calluses, scars, and rope burns. I did not tell her how the hearts of some men can be an island unto itself, and you could end up being washed up on your calcified shores. I did not tell her there is no heaven in a flower, wild or tamed, but only in the fertile imagination of robed men in privilege and power, supposedly fearful of hell's fire. I didn't even tell her what the rock, the grain of sand, the drop of water, the gulp of air, or the root told me. Because the last thing the world and any woman needs right now is another man talking to inanimate objects and making pronouncements and judgment calls as if he were God. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. So on point with these current times, and yet, of course, transcendent through time. Really, what a poem. And certainly it's the mark today on our theme of interdependence. And how do each of you, dear poets, interpret that? And there's so many portals in and out. Really, and what we seek here on Cultivating Voices is to be able to kind of explore in a prismatic way what that theme is. Oh, wow, what a poem. Thank you so much. Well, I'm also excited now to bring one of our friends to hear Max Vandersteen's take on the theme of interdependence. And then we will hear from Jennifer Elise Wang. I'm using everyone's names that they type in the chat. So I know that there's more familiar names that we all go by, but I'm using those. So thank you, Max, and I'm so grateful to have you here joining us today on this theme as well.
Thank you, Sandy. And thank you, Kim and Dawn, for continuing to bring this venue to us all. I'm dependent on listening to all of these great poets, and I welcome this opportunity. I'm coming to you from Edmonton in Western Canada, which is also on Treaty 6 territory here in Canada. And we had our Aboriginal Peoples Day just about 2 weeks ago here, and the poem I wrote was in response to that. It's called Transplanted. I'd like to start with this quote. Courage is demonstrated when we choose to fight injustice instead of turning a blind eye. And that is from Linda Prusen, who started the Idle No More movement here in Canada. So the poem Transplanted goes, a transplanted man I am, a Australian from ancestral land of Aboriginals, guarding traditional territories bearing dingoes, marsupials, and opals. Lands created mystically in a dream time by the creator spirit who teaches humans to treat the earth and animals with respect for the land in their reaches. I'm an Oz transplant on Turtle Island, living midst the wise warriors of Great Atun, who guard the historical indigenous ways which respect the common human commune, where now, contrary to First Nations Moors, prudence in their proverbs goes unobserved, foresight forgotten, stewardship forgone, to see that settlers themselves are the best served. Sadly, to the Stalatal Mix Nation, the salmon spawn the streams in smaller schools. Cruelly, to the Kitasoo and Iksai Tha, herring roe are vanishing from the kelp pools. Ruefully to Inuit and Dene tribes, the caribou dwell in dwindling ranges. And grimly to the Blackfoot and Nihaya Cree, bison have disappeared from the Great Plains. This migrant recognizes the neglect caused by the misfocus of immigrants, seeking profit and gain from resources supported by the colonist governance. Too, this foreigner remembers the men, the lawmakers like Harper and Kenny, who assaulted and exploited the land to benefit few at the expense of many. They're removing protection from waterways and weakening environmental laws, threatening traditional hunting grounds and destroying much of the harmony that was. craving more, taking more, forsaking more, while still ignoring the signals of duress. The elders' ears hear cries in the wilderness, and their eyes shed tears, seeing signs of distress. Why can we not observe the discernment professed within their tralitious lore, nor bear witness to their wholesome wisdom of well-being through lordship anymore? Why can't we thank our First Nation neighbors and ancestral Indigenous forebears for cultures concerned with conservation, creation, and ecological cares? Kinanasko mitin, I say to them, for preserving these lands for centuries. Kamati tamik, I apologize for the history of our treacheries. Before it's too late, we must acknowledge when animals disappear, we will too. Before it's too late, we must reconcile relations with nature and with manatee. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you so much, Max Vandersteen. And oh man, that line, I apologize for the history of our treachery. That one's going to stay with me. Ooh.
Thank you.
Folks, we are gathered here today on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. It's our Poets Focus on the theme of interdependence. This is our special 1 hour. We're getting in one poem apiece from our members here, up to 3 minutes, and we are pretty much at our what is likely to be our limit, and we've posted that. I want to remind you all also to please put your appreciation in the chat, and for the readers as they're reading, and also to our dear readers, our dear poets sharing today. Also, if you've got upcoming publications or current publications or past publications that you'd like to let folks know about, we're not posting on your behalf today because this is the open mic, but we certainly welcome you to post events and your publications for folks to be able to possibly purchase and support you and your presses. Well, next we have the great pleasure to hear from Jennifer Elise Wang, and I'm so glad you're here today, Jen, and thank you for being reading last week, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. And then next, following Jen, will be Rawle James.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My poem is, I'm going to give a little bit of a backstory because it's inspired by the Japanese holiday of Tanabata, which is July 7th. And it's also a Chinese holiday that's a little later due to the lunar calendar, but it's kind of all about interdependence because the legend of the two stars, Altair and Vega, it's about them being separated after falling in love. And on the seventh day of the 7th month, they are supposed to reunite by a bridge of magpies if it does not rain. And so let's hope it doesn't rain on the 7th. And my poem is called July 6th. I count the days until we meet again, even though not a week has gone by since I last looked into your eyes. The road between us is like a river, which becomes an ocean with each second that I'm aware of my immobility. I look at the stars, Vega and Altair, and wonder how they can stand to be so far apart for eons and eons, or even just 364 days if it doesn't rain tomorrow. Then I think of you and vow with these two hands to build a bridge that connects us forever.
Great. Oh my gosh. Thanks, Jen. And I love the backstory. Like, thank you for the context too, and for bringing in the holiday on July 7th.
Yeah, I lived in Japan for a year, and so I have a lot of fond memories. And yeah, I wrote this kind of at the beginning of my relationship. So both Japan and my new relationship was in my mind when I wrote this.
And that idea of the stars being interdependent on, on each other, of course, like I'm always thinking about constellations, and I hadn't really thought in that. I mean, you'd think I would have thought of that before, but nope, it was today. And thank you. That's your gift to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon. Be well. I'm so glad to be able now to welcome Rawle James to the stage. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, Sandy. And hello to beautiful poets, to my American cousins south of the border, happy 4th. Although I live in Canada, I've been for a while. The 4th and Thanksgiving are probably my favorite American holidays. So to some degree, I still honor them. And I too, like Julian, wasn't aware of the theme, but I actually wrote this piece. This is a brand new piece, probably a couple of days old, still in works. And I wrote it because of the madness that's kind of going on in our society today, both here in Canada, because I'm sitting in Toronto, Canada, and obviously south of the border. Doesn't matter what side, whether you're red or blue. I don't think most people realize that we're all in this together. So I kind of wrote this with that theme in mind. So it's called My Phoenix is Grounded. The dysphoria is real. As the blindfold of justice is being removed, as most passively witness their own migration from common sense. Our land of freedoms more and more feel like one-sided democratic indoctrination of obedience. We are the prize of conquest and economic values, for there is no empire without the people. How can a government give you something if they have not already taken it away? It's the never-ending cycle of a mindset that says someone else knows best how you should be, how you should live, and how you should die. Wake up. The truth of unsustainable policies is reinforced by the divinity of the state as the repeated mantra of do as I say and not as I do is drilled into our repetitive lives. Once again, the dawn has brought me back to the discomfort of disillusion as my phoenix lies grounded from the volcanic ashes of ideology. More and more minds identify with the imposition of life while many struggle with understanding their own perceptions. It feels like the worst of times as the days reveal the politics of correctness, as voices look to the listening sky, hoping for an inspired exodus. Out of the grief and pain of unvetted emotions from this woke generation, control and censorship mask freedoms while we chase unrealistic paradise. All the while, the majority accepts the devalued narrative that yields segregation, which only values shaming those who are not with the flow. While in the spectrum of absolutes, pointing fingers and shouting debates are the hallmark of this new democracy. What happened to our humanity? We now live in times where questioning is a phobia and common sense is on an extended vacation sunbathing by the pool of one-sided ideas. The answer we seek lies in the beauty of permanence, for change is constant. If I can only get a taste of an answer, I could overcome the hypocrisy of these times. Empathy and resiliency are not just words, but a practice that can heal this divide. For it was out of the ashes that the phoenix rose to embrace the discomfort of transformation. Let us remember that respect is not just between individuals, but must exist within the institutions that govern. Otherwise, the phoenix will forever be grounded in this climate of insanity that casts judgment over reoccurring causes. Remember, when pointing the finger at others, you just might get stones thrown back. The times are asking us to collectively look within and to get our own house in order. Otherwise, Lady Liberty's torch will burn the house down. Freedom is not for the faint of heart. So wake up. End of poem. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much, poets.
Thank you, Rawle James, everyone. And thank you for reading with us earlier this month. I like to just highlight folks who've been sharing with us and joining us and being one of our featured poets in our Juneteenth reading. Appreciate you being here. And again, that on the theme here of interdependence, and certainly we all must be in this together. Like it's vital. It's absolutely vital. Whether the borders should not be there to divide us. In fact, we really, it's our only hope. It's our only hope if we are working together. Again, I've got my B shirt on today. What I'm appreciating about interdependence theme is that we're hearing the prismatic aspect of, it's not just about people being interdependent, but it's about species and the earth. We're all interdependent on that. And we're getting to hear today on our 1 hour special Poets Focus here on July 3rd in the States on the theme of interdependence. Well, we're going to now hear from, I'm going to my list, our friend Cathal Mack, and I'm going by the list of names that's in the chat that I have. So thank you, Cathal. I'm so glad you're here. And then we'll hear from Ron Krieger. I hope we can hear you through.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we've got you.
That's great. I usually turn the video off to save the bandwidth. It sometimes corrupts the audio. We're delighted to be here again with you, Sandy, as normal, as usual, and some lovely poetry and a lovely gentle evening here. And I'm enjoying everybody's contribution. So thank you, everybody, for sharing your writing. Short poem for you. It's called The Journey Home. When I contemplate time and muse upon a home where the heart is not gone to hear a siren song that hangs lilting on air to honey sweet the ear, to drowse away the day adrift upon a mere, where blossoms floating there upon its surface clear, shimmer in the half-light to fill the eye aflame to chart the journey home. That's it. Back to you, Sandy, and I'll continue to enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Joining us over from Ireland, and grateful whenever you join us, my friend, and thank you.
It's an honor. Thank you, Sandy, and thank you, everybody.
There we go. We get to get a brief glimpse of you. Thank you. We'll keep the camera on as you can. Beautiful to see you. Well, we will now hear from one of those folks that certainly interdependence is an absolute theme of your work and works interdependently with me to put this on every single week. I'm so interdependent on Don Krieger, and we will hear after from Jude Dubin. Thank you, Don. Glad we get to hear a poem from you today.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you everybody for being here and for reading and listening. I see July 4th in the context of Juneteenth, which just passed. I'm going to read this new poem. Sandy, you've heard it. It's changed a little bit since then. Juneteenth has been celebrated for 150 years in remembrance of delayed emancipation by those descended from American slavery. As a newly minted national holiday, it is a remembrance for everyone here and around the world of the past and the ongoing disgrace that is America. The holiday flock at Carter Howell Strong Park. Just clear of the underbrush, I walked at the street's edge, up Dewey to the grocery, an old French town morning, and 95 degrees. Rusty metal roofs, an occasional two-story, vinyl siding and a fence, a plaque marked with the original owner's name, a man on a bicycle, a rare parked car, a woman walking in an overgrown lot, a pickup on flat tires, the driver's door on top of the engine. I stopped at a Quick Mart, paid 20 for a baseball cap, 2 blocks on, the 4th Street Market, meat cases and canned juice, bagged ice and sad vegetables, paid 20 for a case of Coke and a lemon. The French town in my city, we never walked there as kids or even considered it as we grew, and they never came around our streets either, but now it's different. I took a turn round the pond, shirtless in that Tallahassee sun, an egret with fanned wings on the fountain in the center, rippled water at one end, laughing gulls and geese, pigeons and crows, settled in the shade or foraging together. At the other end, trash and algae, and from every bench, men waved hello, toothless, shade trees overhanging. One even offered a beer, though he had to repeat himself for me to understand.
Thank you, Don Krieger. And what I'll say very briefly, as I keep saying, I'm not really wanting to comment today, but I always end up managing to, is that it's important that we not relegate, right, these holidays and their themes to just that one day. So, really, we need to be thinking of the issues of Juneteenth every single day. Bring those poems back, commemorating, celebrating, contextualizing Juneteenth every single day of the year. Thank you so much, Don. And now I'm so glad we get to hear from Jude today. Yay! And thank you for reading today. You have warmed my heart by reading today. I'm so glad. And we will then hear from Kate Wegrzyn. Welcome, Jude.
Thank you. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Sandy. You make my Sundays wonderful.
No, Jude, you're a little, I don't know, you might have something covering your mic because you're not coming through that clearly. So I just want to, it might be volume. Let's
try again. A little louder.
Yeah, if you could.
Okay, I'm coming to you from across the river of Peoria, Illinois, playing in Peoria, small town across the river. This poem was written with my neighbor in mind. It's called Fences. Our trees, oblivious of the fence, embrace their tender boughs swaying to summer's song, leaves dancing, touching, teasing, while underground their long fingers intermingle, winding through the dust and ashes of eternity, gently stroking the interred bones of wisdom lost. I'm the one that kept the fence and watched you plant your sentinel bushes like giant eagles standing guard. And we both turned our backs, satisfied to be separate, disconnected, private, while the trees, our trees, laughed at the joke, knowing we are all joined at the lip. Thank you.
Fantastic poem. Thank you so much, Jude. I'm the one who kept the fence. That line, wow. Oh, well, from Peoria, outside of Peoria, we go over to Kate Wegrzyn, and we will hear from Kate. And Kate will be followed by Patricia Anderson.
Hello, thank you so much. Sandy, your shirt inspires me to make a comment about bees and that there's many effects of fireworks. And one of them is bees become so upset, they forget to return to their hive. And there's many of those things. So may we find other ways than expressing bombs bursting in air. Yes. I have been reading Wisława Szymborska. She was the 1996 Nobel Prize for Literature winner. This is from her book, Sounds, Feelings, and Thoughts. From her other book, I really loved her book called Here, where she makes note for her love for Ella Fitzgerald. She is from Krakow, Poland. And I have a very short poem, if I can do it justice. In praise of self-deprecation, the buzzard has nothing to fault himself with. Scruples are alien to the Black Panther. Piranhas do not doubt the righteousness of their actions. The rattlesnake approves of himself without reservations. The self-critical jackal does not exist. The locust, alligator, trachina, horsefly live as they live and are glad of it. The killer whale's heart weighs 100 kilos, but in other respects, it is light. There is nothing more animal-like than a clear conscience on the third planet of the sun.
Wow. What a poem. What a
It-
poem.
You, my friend Sandy, have taught me the reward of reading. I've been so preoccupied on this third planet from the sun of writing. So reading while I'm pet sitting has been very rewarding.
Well, thank you for bringing Szymborska. Oh my
Thank
God.
you. And I thought I was joining an all men's open mic. I was so thrilled to see all this masculine energy. Keep bringing it on, fellas. Yeah.
Good work from everyone today. Good work all around. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we now are moving along. We're here for our 1 hour special Poets Focus on the theme of interdependence. We will hear now from Patricia Anderson, followed by Catherine Ronan.
Thank you. Is my audio okay?
You're great.
Thank
You
you.
sound wonderful, actually. Beautiful.
Great. Just a little bit of background on this poem is that it's a more intimate view of interdependence. And both my son and I, who are the two main characters in this poem, are disabled in different ways and are each other's caregivers. So the poem is Villanelle, The Day I Wanted to Be Dead. It was chilly the day I wanted to be dead, but the azaleas finally tipped with pink, finally breaking through the long cold that now bled tiny vivid spear points struggling through blunted blades, as if their shrieking magenta opened a chink in the brick wall. The day I wanted to be dead, I actually didn't. Some neuro-biochem gamed my brain, meds and pain that brought me to the brink, flipped the switch and broke through the long comb that now fled from my eyes, while logical me questioned and said, "This makes no sense. I don't want this, damn it, stop, think. Who loses and who wins if I want to be dead?" Babbling to the boy who held my hand and listened, because there was nothing else he could do but blink and hope to break through the long ache that now shed itself in streams, soaking my scarf. Raw, I just waited for the weirdness to stop, the cresting ache to sink. It was chilly the day I wanted to be dead, giving up, breaking through the long cold that still bled.
That's a poem. That is a poem I'll never forget. I will never forget. And I appreciate you bringing the intimacy of interdependence from that perspective today for us. Again, everyone, Patricia Anderson, thank you. We're here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry on the very prismatic theme of interdependence. And we've been hearing a vast mirror ball of the ways that interdependence manifests itself and lives itself out in our lives and with the interconnectedness of others, with others, for others, as well as the earth and our non-human partners. Well, thank you again, Patricia. That is a villanelle that will stay with me forever, honestly. We now move to Catherine, Ronan, and followed by Mona Lynch. Great to have you here. I know it's evening for you, and you'll let us all know where you're joining us from tonight.
I'm joining you from West Cork in Ireland, just outside Bandon, about 4 miles outside Bandon, on the way to Dunmanway. It's kind of nice evening, but the weather hasn't been good here all week. But I'm delighted to be here, and thank you for all the fantastic poetry. It's been superb so far. Okay, so the poem I'm going to read on the theme of interdependence is called Migration. Migration. She carries everything in a blue and white canvas bag. Dust dances in ochre circles. Soaring heat erupts on her hairline, runs in rivulets to her armpits. She seeks shade under a Joshua tree, Others keep walking to the unknown, taking out the last hope, bread and goat's milk. A tiny sweaty hand touches her shoulder. Mama, mama. Torn t-shirt, grubby grey ankle pants. Tears say, you are not my mother. Tears say, you are not my son. A half smile says we need each other. She takes the bread from her mouth, feeds him like a chick, holds him like her own.
Thank you joining us from West Cork, the ever interdependent. You're always here bringing the poems, sharing them with us all. I think of you as a beacon of interdependence, Catherine Ronan. And we now will have the pleasure also to hear from Mona Lynch, who will be followed by Kim Ports Parsons.
Thank you, Sandy. It's lovely to be here and following my friend Catherine. I'll be celebrating the 4th of July with you tomorrow when my daughter and granddaughter join me from Phoenix, Arizona. Meantime, my poem is from my own world. My mother was an only girl with 7 brothers, and I've decided to do a series of poems commemorating these men. Tonight is a simple one dealing with the eldest one, and I intend to go right through to the youngest, who was torpedoed in World War II on the Repulse at age 21. So tonight's is a simple poem called Jimmy. I watch him silhouetted against the sky, his cottage above the road, the garden higher again. He girdled it with currant bushes, black and red, gooseberries too. Sunshine blazed as with rhythmic strokes. He swings the spade, clearing the drills, rising to the spuds, regimental rows of cabbage, speckled with ravenous caterpillars, fern-like foliage of carrots, hiding juicy tubers. We sit on upturned drums, catching up with our worlds, breathing the fresh scent of the earth. He scrapes his plugged tobacco, fills his pipe and puffs, his soul at one with his garden, a slow world of dignity and respect. Later on, he survived to his 90th birthday. I sat by his bed on his last day, told him of the huge beetroot I was given that day over the fence by a neighbor. Eyes still closed, he whispered, "No beetroot should be bigger than an eating apple." Thank you.
Oh, and I love that project. I love that project. And think of the family members. I think of your mom and those 7 brothers, and the way siblings have an interdependence about them. Another great way to bring in the theme today. Again, thank you for joining us this evening for you, and I hope you and your family have a wonderful time together.
Thank you.
Well, we go now to, again, another human being that can't do it without Kim Ports Parsons. Wouldn't want to. Gratitude, and also gratitude for your poems. Can't wait to hear one today on the theme. Can't wait to see what you're going to share with us.
Thank you so much, Sandy, and thank you for all the fabulous poems, everyone. like Don, I'm kind of thinking about US history, and I have a poem that I'm not even sure this is finished, but I thought I'd share it today. Herbert Hoover was the 31st president from 1929 to 1933, and before he served as president, he was internationally successful as a mining engineer. This poem is called Hoover Day, and Hoover Day is celebrated here in this county where I live, Madison County, Virginia, which borders Shenandoah National Park, and in fact, part of the county was taken to become part of the park. And Hoover Day is a celebration in this county every year. The day that Hoover spoke to the county in a county park. And it's sort of interesting to go back and about all the different interconnecting threads that are problematic about that and about so much of our history. So this poem is called Hoover Day. From Iowa to the mining camps where he engineered his fortune, from the mines to the White House, then the stock market crash. From the White House to Camp Rapidan to escape a mosquito swamp, 100 acres on Double Top Mountain, 2,000 already displaced for the national park. So no harm done. The Marines built 13 cabins, relocated mountain streams, idyllic falls for fly fishing. The Filipino boys did the chores, transferred from the presidential yacht. He just couldn't understand why people were so angry. He paid for it himself. Prosperity cannot be restored, he expounded, by raids upon the public treasury. The people of this county loved him, named a day for him, a park and a road, busted their buttons that he'd chosen to get away from it all with them. And they cheered him and picnicked on the green with him and ate their dripping sandwiches, squirrel stew, and homemade pie. Yes, 10,000 friends and neighbors fed each other and praised his name and basked in the glory of his visit in their newspaper-lined shoes. Thanks so much, everyone.
That's Kim Ports Parsons. Newspaper-lined shoes. Whoa. Huh. Closing out today's Poets Focus, our special 1 hour extravaganza of poetry on the eve of, here in the United States, the July 4th Independence Day. This has been our second annual Interdependence Day poetry reading. And I'll close us out with a very short poem by Lee Young Lee. And then we will marvel together, and I'll remind you all who we heard from today and give you a little preview of what's up and coming here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. This is Lee Young Lee's poem called One Heart, and how I feel about this as being a poem of interdependence is the way that it reaches to, it brings the human, and other species and the cosmos together. Here it is, one heart. Look at the birds. Even flying is born out of nothing. The first sky is inside you, open at either end of day. The work of wings was always freedom, fastening one heart to every falling thing. A poem by Young Lee from his collection, Book of My Nights. That's the poem, One Heart. You've been listening to many hearts together today on our theme of interdependence. And we heard in our 1 hour special today here on Cultivating Voices live poetry. At the top of the hour, we heard David Brydges, Scott Norman Rosenthal, Julian Matthews, Max Vandersteen, Jennifer Elise Wang, Rawle James, Cathal Mack, Don Krieger, Jude Dubin, Kate Wegrzyn, Patricia Anderson, Catherine Ronan, Mona Lynch, Kim Ports Parsons, and Sandy Yannone reading Young Lee. Little sprinkle of me in there. Would we take a moment, please, to open our mics, unmute our mics, and show our appreciation for our connection with the What a great reading too. Wow.
Bravo, poets.
Bravo, bravo.
It's fantastic. It's been really lovely. Who thought shelling beans could be fun?
Sylvia, so great. I love that. I love that.
Well, I just knew I had to get it done, and I was so hot and sticky because it's been so hot here. And I just thought, okay, listen to poetry, think about the poetry, don't think about the steam and the bell beans and everything.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
I hope to join you next week with a poem.
Thank you.
Great evening. Thank you. From our
Thanks, everybody. And
Great. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks, we will be back.
Nice to see you, Julian.
We're taking a little hiatus next week, but we will be back.
Oh, right. Okay.
The 17th, July 17th, my friends, we will be back with our new books showcase, and it is going to be an extravaganza galore. Do not miss this reading. Joining us in our new book showcase, we have Sylvia Pollack, who's here today, just read with us in the Poetry Pride Parade, and joining Sylvia will be Moira Donaldson, Maeve McKenna, and Christy Williams. It's going to be a fantastic display of some of our members' new work. New for us means published generally within one calendar year of the reading. Come and join us back here on July 17th, same time, whatever time zone you are joining us in from today. And also be looking on our Facebook for our other upcoming readings. We've got on the 24th, we'll be coming together again for Wild Card Open Mic, and then we will close out July with another new book showcase. Wonderful things happening here. And of course, amazing poetry today, my friends. Thank you one and all for being with us. As I always encourage you to do, but I love today the spirit of listening. You know, Kate talked about that, Sylvia talked about that. But I'm always encouraging you to keep writing, but this is also about deep listening. And we had some tremendous poems today on that theme of interdependence. I hope that you all will take the power of the words that you heard today here on our 1 hour reading and allow them to move you forward during this week, where I encourage you, as I always do each week, take amazing care of your beloveds and yourself. And of course, just keep writing your miraculous poems. You know, they do inspire, and they do move us forward through the most difficult of times. Again, I'm joining you, Sandy Yannone, from Old Saybrook, Connecticut, here on the East Coast of the US. Stay safe out there, my friends, and I'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Thanks again.
Thank you, Sandy.
Great reading.
Thank you, Sandra. Stay safe, keep well. Thanks, Don.